presenting How to Start a Podcast by Roohi Kazi. So, my background, I'm a recent graduate of American University in DC. I'm the podcast host of Business Podcast by Roohi, which I've been running for the past 3+ years on and off. And my cold emails have landed responses from Manjeet Minhas's team, Mark Randolph's publicist, Gary Vee's PR team, and so much more. So what will be covered in this series of videos? We'll be covering the setup, how to invite your dream guests, and all the topics that are listed here, as well as all the topics that are listed here and here. And now without further ado, let's dive right into it. So the setup. So I use Riverside FM or Zoom to record. I use a Logitech 720p webcam and any external mic. I also use ring lights from Lazada, but you can get them from Lazada, Amazon, or whatever is available in your home country. Now, some cold email and DM tips. This is taken from my exclusive Fueler session for the Fueler community. And so my first tip is you have to personalize the first line or ask. And how you can do this? You can make a direct connection to them, an article or book that you've read of theirs or where you heard them. Have a decent call to action. Can we schedule a time for you to join on my podcast on after X date? Or you can say, would you be available to share your story in the coming months? Something like that could work. Now make it short, clear, and crisp. Avoid being long-winded. And leave your ego at the door and follow up persistently until you get an answer. I recommend around 8 to 9 times, but I know some people do more than that, on a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. So recently, I got my cold emails responded to by Manjeet Minhas, who's on Dragon's Den team, Ashton Kutcher's publicist. Make it personal and human, and make it a great ask. So what not to do? Make it long-winded, spray and paint approach, send it anywhere without personalizing anything, and make it more about you than the guest. So keep everything about you brief, maybe like maximum 1 to 2 lines. And this is the Great Ask Framework by KP. So this is the Shooting Your Shot framework, and this is an example time. So this is the first cold email I sent to Barbara Corcoran. And the subject line was podcast invite for guest name here. So the frameworks I used were Shooting a Shot and Great Ask by KP. So who is KP? So KP is a building in public legend on Twitter. And I've learned from him many great frameworks that I've used to frame my emails and also my Twitter outreach. Now, another example. I'll be showing you my follow-up here. So this follow-up was helped, like Advit Kapoor helped me, who's an up-and-coming podcaster. He helped me to craft this follow-up. And it has some great ask concepts. Now we'll be moving on to how to prepare questions and research. So use the Tweamex Chrome extension. Research their past tweets. Find out what topics they talk about. Watch their previous podcasts. Look at all the news features. Look at the LinkedIns. And bonus, ask them for intros to people that they have known for a while. Do due diligence on them. Now my podcast workflow and processes. So the outreach approximately takes about 1 hour. This includes cold email, DM, intros. Second thing is creating questions. This takes about 30 to 45 minutes approximately, and preparing the follow-up questions. The third thing I do is recording the main episode, which is around under 30 minutes approx. And for this, I ask the follow-ups and the questions prepared. Now, the fourth part of my podcast workflow and processes is to record the sponsored segment. And this depends. It usually takes around 20 to 30 minutes. And fifth, editing. That depends as well. Sixth, creating other content around 30 minutes approx. And then seventh, this includes like documenting the process, sharing about my projects. And the seventh is the publishing. So 5 to 10 minutes around-ish, where I finalize the show notes and create the cover art. Now, how do you build connections? So this is another key topic in podcasting, which is like you get all these phenomenal people. Now, how do you build that connection? So I'd say don't force a connect. Connect with people that you genuinely vibe with, or at are at least 1 to 2 levels ahead or behind you. Look for ways to consistently add value. And by adding value, I mean like sharing articles, sharing insights, sharing your insights to them that could be helpful. And so, some great connectors that I found are Danny Miranda, who's a research based connections. He does a lot of deep research on the guests, and Casey Adams. He started his podcast and has built connections with the top people in the industry like Dan Fleshman and so many more. So, how do you grow a podcast without spending money? The first way is you leverage social media. You tag the guest when the episode is out, both on LinkedIn and Twitter. And then you leverage community. So, you go where your listeners hang out and you share value and promote your podcast. So, how can you do this? So, this is a leveraging social media template. This is a how to grow a small podcast without spending money. This is part of the segment, and this is your asking guests to share template. Now, this is the promoting in groups example. And so, as you see in this, I state that it's unrelated to the conversation at hand. I state that it's a new episode, and then the most important and the key part, so that it doesn't look like spam or self promotion, is and doesn't dilute your brand, is you add context. So you reference the community or wherever you're sharing it, you reference their members, and then you say what they could gain out of it. So this doesn't guarantee that people are going to listen to your podcast episode, but it does guarantee that your message probably won't get deleted by the admins. Now, how many reps did it take me before I got comfortable and skills development? So it took more than 10 episodes before I became comfortable with the medium. And I can say for a fact that my first episode was probably pretty shitty. And I didn't even upload that first episode till date because I did not have a proper webcam, my audio quality was all bad, and there were so many things that led to me not publishing that episode. But over time, as I started to record more and more episodes, I became more familiar with the medium. So these are some of the skills that I've developed: communicating and listening, asking questions, confidence, and speaking skills. Now, next, what you can do to build up consistency. So, build up a consistent podcast schedule, like pick a specific day or a range of days and upload on that day. So, for me, it's either Friday or weekends. Now, some AI tools. So, you can use Opus Clips, Listener, Guest Lab, Unblock AI, or My Map. So, now I'll delve a bit into what these exactly do. Now, Opus Clips is mainly for clips, as the name suggests, and so you can generate clips using AI. Then you have Listener, which is listener.fm, which is created by the phenomenal Casey Adams for show notes, transcripts, and many other things. Then we have Guest Lab, which is more for research, and Unblock AI, which is a content, helps to generate a content pack created by the Building in Public legend KP, and Guest Lab is created by Sharath, who's also a fellow podcaster, and it's mainly focused on research. And Unblock AI is mainly focused on helping you generate a content bank. Then, lastly, there's My Map, which is for brainstorming and storytelling. Now we'll cover what exactly do guests want from a podcast episode. In my opinion, this is what guests want. They want a research conversation. They want a host that steers the conversation. Now, how you can do this? You would ask them what would make this a win for you. So this is something I've learned from Andrew Warner, who's the podcast host of Mixergy. And then you would hit on those points that would make it a win for them. Thirdly, they want a chance to promote what they have going on, whether that be their books, their projects, their celebrations, or their milestones. Now, how do you make people care about what you want to talk about on the podcast? Firstly, the first way that you can make people care about what you're talking about on your podcast is to crowdsource questions from your audience and your guest audience. So how do you do this? You tag the guest and you write interviewing at podcast guest name here. What burning questions do you have for them? Then you build and create questions around your ideal listener type. Thirdly, you have a viewpoint, something that you do that is repeatable and keeps them coming back. Now, how do you make it sound like a healthy conversation and not an interview with the guest? You follow up. So how you can do this? You find interesting points and you make a connection to a question. At the end of the day, you really need to put in efforts to make it a conversational tone. But interview style is also fine. It depends on your comfort level at that moment. Now, how do you keep viewers attentive till the end of the podcast? You ask interesting questions. Secondly, you cut out things and you make every minute, if not every second, valuable. And this is something that I've learned from Harry Stebbings. Then you hook them. So you hook them by making trailers out of the episode, short form clips for the episode. Now, what's better, audio only or video? Combination of audio and video, in my opinion. So, what you could do, you could record videos in Riverside.fm remotely. You would use Magic Clips to convert the clips, and then you would export to audio using tools like Riverside for this. And video is very good for discoverability. Now, audio is also good for people on the go. And how do you find what topics or genres suit your personality? It really depends on what topics interest you. Like, what is consuming you? Your personality is a reflection of what you write about, what you consume. And so for me, it was startups and VC and content creation. Now, how do you streamline editing and uploading of podcasts? You use Spotify for podcasters to edit and upload them. Get a team behind you to help with editing and uploading of podcast episodes, especially video, and audio you can handle on your own. So, thank you so much for tuning in to this short presentation on how to start a podcast.